It's happy hour again from Central City, New Orleans. Hello, I'm Grant Morris. We're at Casa Borrega on Reef Castle Haley Boulevard, where we'll be for the next 60 minutes for happy hour, which is a part of the family of shows on the podcast network. It's neworleans.com, brought to us today in part by Petite Pet Care, dog walking and pet sitting. Loving care when you're not there. For more information about your pet and who can look after it for you, give them a call at Petite Pet Care at 504-309-PET or go online to petitepetcare.com. If you're using an iPhone, check out the awesome new app Swell. It's the Pandora of podcasting. It goes out and finds all sorts of great podcasts that you're going to love. When you walk into a bar in New Orleans and you pull up a bar stool, you never know who's going to be sitting next to you. What you do know is no matter what they look like, what they're wearing, whether they just got out of a limo or just got out of jail, they're going to be happy to talk to you because that's New Orleans. And this is Happy Hour, a cocktail-fueled 60 minutes of random conversation with folks who have nothing in common other than we're all New Orleans in a bar. This time it's at Casa Borrega. Our theme song is being played today by the fabulous Luke Winslow King. Luke, thank you very much. Yes, Luke Winslow King is a New Orleans guitarist, singer, and songwriter whom critics have described as brilliant, a soft-spoken lead belly, and reminiscent of Neil Young if Neil were a great singer.
Nice, you really dug into the archives for those. Those are old quotes.
Who said that about you?
It was this guy, Phil Wintermute. He was a great singer and mandolin player in Michigan. He passed away about 5 or 6 years ago, so that's a really old quote.
Well, that is odd.
Yeah.
Well, it's historical.
Yes, exactly.
Instead of old. Well, historical sounds a lot,
That's right.
A lot more exciting. Yeah,
Maybe when they went through the list, you thought the ones at the end were more important, but really they were just older.
Is there a better quote?
It's a chronological
Is there a better
list.
quote we could use in future?
No, that's fine. That's great. I
That's
appreciate
okay?
it. Yeah.
So I read the rest of it. Luke Winslow King leads his band, the Ragtime Millionaires. That's true still, right?
No, we're not called that
Okay,
anymore.
what are they called now?
Just Luke Winslow King.
Yeah, I was about to say, that was new to me.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's okay.
Easy,
Luke Winslow
edit.
King leads his band. Another one is just Luke Winslow King across the country and around Europe.
That's right.
Okay. They played alongside Jack White, Taj Mahal. Hey, that's a small world because Andrew Duhon's just back from India.
Oh, nice.
It's a different
Welcome
Taj
back.
Mahal, though,
Different
right?
Taj Mahal,
Yeah, whole different. One's a place, one's a guy.
Yeah. The Taj Mahal, the guy's not named after. Why is he called that?
I don't know. I think it was kind of like a 60s folk revival thing when India
Right.
was really cool and the Beatles were into that stuff. And
What does it mean, Andrew Taj Mahal?
The name?
Yeah.
I don't know what it means, but it's a... everybody thinks it's this religious place, but it's not.
What is it?
It's an ode to love. It's a tomb for an emperor who made his beloved wife, who bore him 12 kids, this amazing tomb. And he had a plan to build his own identical black one across the river, but there's only the base of it because that's as far as he got. So they're both buried in the Taj Mahal, but it's just a love palace.
So
and I think Taj Mahal, the person, is pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
but he's the
Right.
black
He's
one.
the black version.
Yeah.
Yeah. Black
Taj
Love
Mahal
Palace.
black version.
Yeah.
Wasn't that like a song?
Yeah.
What was that? Donald Trump black version. Who sang that? Do you
Not
know
sure.
that? Donald Trump black version. That's a great song. I can't think of the guy's name now.
No.
Anyway, Luke Winslow King, along with his band, has played alongside Jack White, Taj Mahal, Robert Earl Keen, among others, and they've been featured on the BBC, CNN, Discovery Channel. And Luke Winslow King's third album is The Coming Tide, which is awesome.
Thank you very much.
It's beautiful. How's it
Thank
doing?
you.
Is anybody buying it or
It's
stealing
doing
it?
really well. It got picked up by a label called Bloodshot, and they've been selling lots of them for us. It's been really good.
Wow, good. So
And,
you're on a real label now.
Yeah, and we're finishing up our fourth album that's going to be out in the fall this year.
Wow, excellent. How cool.
Yes, I'm excited about it.
Are you recording it as we speak?
Yep, we've been recording over the last few weeks, and we're going to finish it up probably by Jazz Fest, and then have it out to the presses for the fall.
Wow, pity it's not out by Jazz Fest. That's the key.
I know that's always the goal, but sometimes you just don't make it.
Yeah.
You know, so
Well,
it's
there'll
okay.
always be another Jazz Fest.
That's right, always, every year.
In theory as well.
Mm-hmm.
Our other guests sitting around the table here are Eris Walsh. Hello, Eris.
Hello.
Hello. Eris moved to New Orleans from Atlanta a few months after Katrina
Nice move.
to help
I
a
did
good
what I
friend
could.
rebuild, fell in love with the city and never left.
It's true.
Ah.
Yeah.
Eris has turned a childhood of... Okay, I'll start this again. Eris has turned a childhood of playing in the dirt into the business of creating all-natural herbal remedies. Taking inspiration from the apothecaries of old, Eris is the founder of the new Moon Apothecary.
Yep.
Hey, that's cool. Apothecary, that's a person. Here we go again. That's also like Taj Mahal. Apothecary is a person and a place, right?
Sort of. It's a person who creates drugs or medicines and then sells them. So technically an apothecary is a person, but a lot of people just assume that apothecary is a place as well. It's kind of assumed that.
Are you saying that
Over the
assumption
years.
is incorrect?
I think it's become both over the years.
So it's the Taj Mahal of drugs.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
It's nice. I like that.
Is
Well, I'm
yours-
going to keep that,
are you
actually.
are you the black apothecary or the white apothecary?
Oh, that depends on the day.
What is today? How are you feeling?
Today, I'd go with white. I'd go with
Feel white today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Eris is the founder of the new Moon Apothecary. The apothecary combines Eris's 20 years of studying herbs and herbal remedies. We've been studying herb for about 20 years here as well.
Hey,
Strangely enough,
Probably different herbs.
probably.
One or
Can
two
you use
different
pot?
ones.
Is pot used in any of your medicinal?
Not in mine, but that's because I'm allergic to it.
How did you find that out?
Trial and error, actually. It was tons of fun figuring that out, by the way.
You got to just hang in there.
You know, you
Right.
think that, and after about the third or fourth time, you just kind of give it up, and then you're just sad for the rest of your life because
Yeah.
everyone else gets to do things that you just can't.
What happens when you smoke it?
I get violently ill.
Well, we've got a little bit here that you might like to try.
I think that I
Well-
will let everyone else at the table have an
Well,
enjoyable experience by not doing that.
Well, I'm sorry to sort of start the whole interview process already before we've even got to Brandi and the introductions,
fine.
but just tell me this then. If you're an apothecary and pot makes you violently ill, what does that mean?
You know what? We've never actually figured out exactly what it is about that particular plant that I don't do well with. It's one of those things that I've kind of decided it's better for me to just leave it alone rather than dive into it and figure out exactly what part of it is.
But it must have some potent...
I'm sure that there is, but I have no idea what it is exactly. And like I said, there's been enough trial and error in my life that I hate throwing up enough that I just don't want to keep trying.
What makes you throw up?
It does. I told you, violently ill. It's sad, I know.
Okay.
It's terrible.
Well, I guess it's a saving. What do you do instead? Heroin?
Only on the weekends.
Okay, well, it's almost the weekend.
It is.
Brandi Studer is here as well. Hi, Brandi.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Sorry to make you wait there.
Oh, no, I'm good.
Brandi's a mitigation specialist at the Capital Defense Project here in New Orleans with a law degree from Washburn University in Kansas and a Master of Social Work from Tulane. Brandi spends her days trying to keep people already convicted of murder from being sentenced to death.
Sort of. They're not convicted. They're pre-trial. All my clients are pre-trial.
So they're not convicted.
They're innocent until proven guilty.
So you're working for people who have been charged with murder.
Right.
But
All first-degree murder.
so what are you actually? What are you mitigating?
Their lives. So my job is I basically write my clients' life stories. So if you're my client, then I would meet your family and your friends and your social workers and your foster care parents and your teachers and everyone and kind of put your story together to eventually present to a jury to hopefully save your life.
So you give it to the attorney, to the trial attorney.
Right.
You're not the trial attorney.
No.
You are an attorney.
I am a lawyer. Right. I'm licensed in Louisiana, but I do mitigation work.
But would you need to be a lawyer to do what you're doing?
No.
I'm sorry to look at you like that. It's
No.
just scary.
You could do it.
Anyone could do it. So do you need a law degree to do that?
No.
What made you go to all this trouble to get a law degree to do this job then? Why don't you want to be a trial attorney?
It's not that I don't want to be a trial lawyer. I just am doing this. I actually worked at the Orleans Parish Prison before I went to law school, and I didn't realize that people were treated in the horrible manner that they're treated there. So I went home and went to law school and essentially came back.
But nobody in OPP is charged with murder, are they?
Yeah.
Are they?
Yeah.
That's where they go first before they get found. If they're found guilty, then they go off to Angola.
If they're found guilty, they'll go to Angola. Most likely Angola, yeah.
So you were inspired to get a law degree by Orleans Parish Prison.
Scary.
Yeah, most people are inspired by like making a whole lot of money.
I know. I don't make any money. That's why I came for the free beer today.
Yeah, well, good deal. That's what we're here for as well. To tell you the truth. Hey, shall I keep reading this? Before taking on this burden in New Orleans, Brandi did the same job in Austin, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny because a lot of people go between Austin, Texas, and you two guys are going to Austin, Texas today, actually.
That's right.
Luke and Andrew.
Not today, this week.
This week. Andrew's going this afternoon, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Right after the show, after South by
Nice.
Southwest.
Yeah.
So it's funny because people often put Austin, Texas and New Orleans, Louisiana together as two hip cities, and you defended murderers in both of them.
Yeah.
Well, alleged murderers.
They're post-conviction in Texas, so they all were on Texas death row.
Wow, that's hard to get off Texas death row. You must be pretty good. Did you get anybody off?
Not yet.
Oh,
Do you is it simply the requirement that you are on death row to save them? Is that the thing, or do you kind of look into it to decide whether or not they're deserving or something like that?
No, there's no aspect of deserving. You just are trying to help save a guy's life.
Right.
I mean, mine, I guess I have not represented a woman. Most of mine, all my guys have been guys. But there's no, like, are you kind enough or, you know,
Or innocent enough. or
worthy
something.
enough? No. We aren't the innocent. I mean, I've never worked for the Innocence Project. They do those innocence cases. We just do whoever else comes our way.
Have you ever met anyone that you didn't want to represent?
No.
So you're just against the death penalty, no matter what,
I am.
even if they're horribly guilty
Yeah.
in your eyes.
I mean, I think find people more often guilty than not guilty or innocent.
Mm-hmm.
But there's always something about somebody that you can like. I mean, you know, they're just people who've committed a horrible crime or, you know, have had a different life circumstance. So
Sure.
you just have to try to find something that you like, you know, or something that you can identify with. And they're just people, you know.
Sure. Yeah. You kind of have to separate the person from the deed at a certain point to work
exactly.
your job.
Yeah.
So it's more of a mission than a job for you then.
Well, I don't think that.
Let's put you on the spot.
I just really like what I do. I really like the people. I like their families that, you know, that I get to meet. And, you know, you just end up meeting people that you would never, ever meet. I'm sure, like, you have fans that you've never thought would be a fan of your music, and you meet them and you don't know anything about them, or you don't identify with their same livelihood or their way of life, and you like them anyway, and eventually, you know, find something to connect with them on.
Sure, always.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sort of.
You're comparing the fans of Luke's music to murderers?
They're very similar.
You'd be surprised.
You never
You'd be
know.
surprised.
I mean,
A lot of murder ballads in that guy.
You're saying that the people on death row are just people,
They're
just like
just
anybody
people.
else. They just happen to have killed someone.
right. Or,
Is that
I mean,
true,
there are
though?
probably
Is that
innocent ones.
really true?
I'm sure that there
I
are
mean, I know
people
that
who are on
s-
death row who are innocent.
Yeah.
But I would imagine a large percentage of them also have some sort of mental situation.
Some people do, for sure, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I wonder, that's the tough part, right? But there's that element of the law where, you know, if you plead insanity or the like, that you are either more lenient or sent a different route than death row. But we're still killing people that we know are mentally deficient. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. I think that happens all the time.
Right.
I mean, especially in states that have active death, you know, death chambers or whatever. Yeah, that happens.
Wasn't the insanity plea incredibly hard to actually prosecute? Like, isn't it incredibly difficult for someone to get off? Not really get off, but, you know,
I
get
think-
get an insanity plea as opposed to anything else.
I think that is in Louisiana, because of the way the statute is written, you go to the state hospital until you can be rehabilitated. So prosecutors or juries have a hard time with the idea that you could eventually walk out of jail, even though it's most likely never going to happen.
Right. I've always heard that you know,
That's
if
why.
someone committed a murder, that regardless of what their mental state actually is, it's very, very difficult to actually plead insanity and win, for lack of a better term, I guess.
Right. And it's because you go to the state hospital and you eventually could, you know, in theory, be released, even though it's not going to happen.
Right.
Can I just say this is the most interview-style questions I've ever seen asked?
Very serious.
You know, yeah.
I don't think we've ever had anybody on the show who's like in a life
Can I
and
just
death
pass?
job.
I'll pass.
Yeah.
Everyone else is just, you know, doing bullshit kind of ordinary stuff. This
Yeah.
is, what do you feel like when you wake up in the morning? You're gung-ho and ready to go? Or you're like, oh shit, I have to go and
No,
meet
I-
all these murderers again today.
You know, it just, I guess some days are better than others. Yeah, I mean, it's just what it is. You chose to do what you choose to do. I mean, it's just,
Well, not really. Sort of most people stumble into whatever they happen to be good at.
well, I stumbled into it. I mean, before I went to law school, I wanted to only do criminal defense work, and I hadn't really thought about the death penalty ever. I mean, I suppose I might have been even in favor of the death penalty before I went to law school, and I started working with a professor who asked me to go to some anti-death penalty meetings, and then I took an internship with our public defender doing death penalty work when I was in law school, and just kind of went from there, you know? I mean, I didn't only do death penalty work as a lawyer. I just sort of
Right.
kind of got back.
It does seem strange, the whole death penalty concept, that we have, that it's illegal to kill somebody for everyone except the state. The state can kill you.
Well, there's
But
a
you
lot of
can't
things
kill
that are
any-
illegal for everybody but the state.
Like what else, for example?
There's insurance, as far as I'm concerned,
Oh, hang on now,
and
that's
taxes
crazy.
and whatnot.
Well, the state has the right to tax you,
Well, yeah.
apparently. If they
But
didn't,
see,
that would
again,
be good.
it's- Yeah, but if you try to do that to somebody else, then it's extortion.
Okay, that's true, I suppose. You're not allowed to just go taking people's money at random for,
Right.
and then do whatever you feel like with it.
Right.
Okay, all right. Taxes and death.
Right. Exactly. Those are the only two things
What are the
that
other two?
are absolutely inevitable.
They're the inevitabilities. Yeah. All right.
It's interesting you take these facts about people's lives though, and you have to write it, so you have to kind of turn it into something that's kind of subjective. Like at a certain point, you must be kind of like inflecting certain facts and like
Making
kind
it
of
up.
articulating something that these people couldn't for themselves. Because you're kind of writing a story. You
Yeah.
know? So at a certain point, you must come to these places where you're like, should I be creative at this point, or just put the facts in? Like, how do you deal with that?
Well, if you get to, sometimes we present the evidence to the prosecutor and try to say, you know, you're never going to win a death penalty case with this client's life. But sometimes you do get to a jury and you have to tell the jury the client's story, and the only way to do that is through witnesses. So you have to decide like what witnesses to put on, and like what part of my client's story could you tell, and what kind of part of my client's story could you tell, and make it into a cohesive story to tell the jury the person that
So
you
you're
know
just
our
weaving
client
together
is.
hard facts, really.
Well, yeah, or, you know, you remember that he was always really sad and really dirty, and you never saw him wear shoes, or, you know, whatever. Or that you always thought that the mom was mean, or, you know, whatever it is. It's
Right.
what your story is to tell about our client, and you try to put all of that together. So your story, what you know about my client, and your story, what you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you might not even know. We have cases where you might not know my client now. Like, you may have read about him in the news and think, oh, I think he was my neighbor, but when we come talk to you, you know, like, I remember when they lived next door, and I remember what their house looked like, and I remember taking them groceries, or, you know. So you don't know them now maybe, but you know that little bit of their life, and you can tell
Sure.
that part of their story. Because they, you know, most likely you don't want to put the client on to tell their story, because then they're subject to cross-examination, and you just don't want to
Yeah.
do that to them.
I went to OPP for a weekend one time, and I was really surprised at
You were inside as a prisoner.
yes, and I was really surprised at how my feelings change when you meet these people face to face, and how you feel like their incarceration is like really circumstantial. More so when you're reading the newspaper and you're looking at a little picture of them and what they've done.
Well, how about
It's-
you? What did you do to get thrown in there?
I actually didn't do anything. I was.
That's what they all say,
I was
right?
falsely accused, and all my charges were dropped and expunged. So I had no,
So you have
you know,
proof that you
no
didn't do
problem
anything.
afterwards. But I got, you know, to see the inside of OPP for a
Yeah.
weekend.
When was it?
And it was probably about 2 years ago.
Okay.
2 years ago, August. Yeah.
What did you get? Are you allowed to say what you got accused of, or is that?
I don't want to say on the podcast, but I
Okay.
mean, I'm sure you know,
We'll have a
working
guess.
musician in New Orleans, you could guess. Yes, I'm
Did
sure
you get
probably.
dressed out? Did you have
Incest.
to wear the orange
I did.
jumpsuit?
Yes, I did have to wear the orange
Oh
jumpsuit.
my goodness!
That's
But,
not a
um,
good color on anybody. I don't care who you are. That's a horrible color.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad, but I had like several layers of orange going on. For some reason, they gave me extra clothes. So when I
had
was
a
leaving, I had all
sweatshirt.
this currency. I had the sweatshirt I traded, gave someone my white T-shirt.
Did anyone apologize to you officially for that? It's a pretty strange thing to do, to be arrested for.
The cops told me
absolutely
that I
no-
was a dolphin caught in the shark net while they were arresting me.
Wow, so there's something to do with drugs, I assume.
Yep. They
And
were trying to arrest someone else, and I was in the vicinity. And
Was it also a musician, J. Monkey D, for example?
no,
Nothing like that.
no. But I mean, the
Taj
conditions
Mahal.
inside OPP are shocking.
Yeah.
You know,
So that
everyone
was
on
a-
the street knows it's bad, but when you go there, it's way worse than you could ever imagine.
Thank goodness it didn't
Doesn't feel
make
like
you
you're
want to
in
become
America.
a lawyer, though, did it?
No, but it did make me feel like Brandi, that I wanted to stand up for people
Wanted to
that,
do
that don't
something.
have a voice. You know, I think it's so easy for young, impoverished Black people to end up there without
yeah.
doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like a hardworking white guy with a good haircut and like a button-up shirt.
Good
and I
looking.
can end up in jail.
Crazily good looking, right?
Thank you. That's very sweet of
You're
you to say.
welcome.
But I'm just saying it's really hard for these
Right.
people that end up there, and some people end up there because of horrible things they've done, and other people just
Bad
End up there.
circumstances.
Yeah.
They-
Did you get a song out of it?
It affected several songs after going to jail, but I didn't write like a going to jail
my
song.
jail song. Right.
Right.
Hey, you
Right.
want to play something?
Um,
Connected or disconnected from that experience?
I wrote this song recently that I've been kind of like on the fence about performing very much, but it kind of goes with the theme of going to jail, and it's like it's called the Louisiana Blues, and it's like I'm gonna go to Louisiana, I'm gonna buy myself a gun because all the other men have one. And that's like really, I think a lot of the reason why we have so many gun crimes is because people are so afraid of each other. You know what I mean? And like people have guns for self-defense, and then you have it, and someone else knows you have it, and you end up in a situation where you have no choice.
Well,
but
what
to
is the
use it, you know?
statistic? What are the statistics? Thank you, Eris. On that, Brandi, what are the numbers about people who? Don't you know that?
I don't know that. I'm sorry. I don't know gun statistics.
No, you don't. I thought that
A
would help
lot.
you get someone off. Maybe.
The gun
I
statistics?
thought that somehow that 83% of murders are people who have a gun or
Well, if you're
they know each
shot,
other.
then
If you're shot, you should be surely someone's got a gun.
I think
Chances are
it's
good. Chances are good.
yeah. I think that's like
You're just
drawn
saying
in.
that people that get shot have guns. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's something like it. Yes, that's what I'm getting at.
Maybe.
I guess that wouldn't help you.
I don't know. I guess that if you were trying to use your gun to shoot somebody, or if you just had a gun on you, I mean, if you just are carrying a gun and somebody walks up and shoots you, it's not really your fault.
There's all kinds
Not
of
really, no.
circumstances.
I'd actually
you
like
look
to
at
see
them
the
more.
percentage of people who have used concealed arms successfully to defend themselves would be a good statistic. How often has someone, the protagonist in the situation, we'll see, the person who's the person who's being jumped, not the jumper, pulls out a gun and that worked out well for him. I'd like to
You're
know.
more likely to get struck by lightning.
Yeah.
Than yourself. I literally
Really?
think I read that.
There's a brand new case. There's a case where the guy, the grand jury decided not to indict him. It just happened that
This was
Maroney
here.
case. Yeah,
Somebody
Yeah.
jumped into somebody else's yard at 2
jumped in
o'clock
his
in the morning.
backyard.
Yeah.
Right. He was.
And the homeowner shot him.
Now, you see, I can understand a
And he was
home
non-indicted.
break-in and you've got one in your dresser drawer or something, but when you walk around town with one in your back pocket, I don't see the good that's going to come out of that.
But I think it depends
But
on the
Agreed.
circumstances.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
I've known people who have been robbed at gunpoint and have changed their mind about that.
About
Yeah.
having
Carrying.
one.
Yeah.
But do they
Yeah.
see
And now
it?
they carry all the time because they've been in that situation and
Yeah.
they
But
want
they
to have
feel
some way
safer.
to control their own
Well,
destiny.
Chris says that you've got a
yeah.
better chance of being struck by lightning than you have of defending yourself with a gun from someone else who's already pointing a gun at you.
I know, but when lightning strikes,
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you'd rather be prepared.
Yeah,
It's
I can't
psychological
say,
at that point.
You know,
I can't say that
I'm,
I
I'm
wouldn't.
on the fence about it myself too, but I can
Yeah.
understand someone who's stared down the barrel of a gun wanting to
Mhm.
have a chance at protecting themselves the next time it happens.
Or move to another country.
But I
Yeah, I don't know if you'll have any better luck with
Sweden.
that. Yeah, Sweden. You're right.
I would hope that staring down the barrel of the gun, your first thought would not be to go for your gun because
Right.
I don't know.
Again,
that's
it,
what
it
Chris
really
is
just
saying.
depends on the circumstances.
If there's
at
a
that point, I
window
think.
of opportunity, it's
Yeah.
already passed once the barrel
Run.
of
They
the
say you
gun
should
is-
run. Dart,
Yeah.
dart, dart.
And
Run and dart.
zigzags.
Yep.
I'll just give him my wallet instead.
But even that sometimes doesn't necessarily turn out well. And
Yeah,
I mean,
perhaps
to,
not.
To be fair, like I am speaking as a gun owner, so
Eris, you own a gun.
I do. I
Okay.
own several actually.
Luke, you don't. Several.
I
Luke,
do.
you don't own a gun.
I have a gun in my
You
home,
do.
but I don't
You
carry
do?
it.
Okay.
Yes.
You have a gun. Brandi, you have a gun?
No.
No, Andrew, you don't.
I haven't, but I'd like to get one in the home. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe
Get a
after,
shotgun
after
home.
this we
Can't
can go down to
afford
the
one.
gun
I
store.
have like a,
Shotguns
I have a-
are cheap,
I have an
actually.
old-
Yeah, you can
old
get one on the
shotgun.
street for
Nothing.
practically nothing.
There
Yeah.
you go. I'll just.
We,
yeah.
Brandi,
Somebody's
Brandi
trump.
can get us one. I mean, these guys aren't using them anymore. They're just in evidence now, right?
Oh, I don't have
Once
any
they're on
access
death
to
row.
the, You have access to the evidence. I don't have any access. To the evidence.
No.
Eris, how many guns have you got?
5 or 6. somewhere
5
around
or
there.
6?
Yeah.
Are they reproducing?
They might be. Like it depends. If you put like the 22 long next to the
Right.
the 12 gauge.
We'll talk
sometimes
about
they
your
go
guns
over
in a minute, and then we're going to talk about India as well, which we have to get
Sure,
onto in
yeah.
just a moment. But Luke, let's get back to the song.
You want to play?
yeah.
you
Yeah,
wanna
let's
do
do
a
it.
song?
yeah.
Sorry, we got off the subject there, talking about statistics.
I'm going down Louisiana. I'm on by myself a gun. I'm going down Louisiana. I'm on by myself a gun.
it down.
Had
for you.
enough of it.
That was
All right.
awesome.
That's right.
Well, cool. How do you like playing it now then?
I do. I like playing that song. It's one that I feel it's nice to play in this situation where I can give a little explanation of it that people don't feel like I'm like
Right.
for guns. But I wrote that phrase and I feel like it said so much about why we have guns and how fear is so much of an issue. And if we could make people feel more secure, maybe we'd all be safer.
What if we just outlawed the whole damn thing?
It's just so hard, man. I grew up in the country, and my family are
Where are you from?
conservatives.
Cadillac, Michigan.
And my family are conservatives from northern Michigan, and I would not want to go have that debate with them.
No, nobody in America wants to have a debate about giving up guns, and yet nobody wants to be shot or killed.
No.
But somehow we got in our heads that this is part of the constitution of being an American, is that
Yeah.
you have to be able to have a gun, which is to do what exactly?
And you go to Europe, and they just don't get it. They're just like,
Mm-hmm.
why does that make you feel American?
I
Why
don't
does
get
why
it.
does that
I
make
don't
you
get it
feel-
either. I know I'm a foreigner, but
Yeah.
that's the one thing I do not understand,
Well, I tell you
what
what.
the concept is.
I never thought about it, but the fact of the matter is, if you're English and you want to go hunt pheasant in the countryside, you can get yourself a gun. But if you're in the city and you want yourself a gun, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if there's a version of that we could instill. But,
You could shoot children, say.
well, after
No.
that happened,
To
which
eat.
was
And then you
where
get
was
to
that
meet
in-
Brandi.
That was in
Yeah, well,
Scotland. That happened.
You
in
went
Scotland.
pheasant hunting?
No. Sorry, I was talking about the shooting of children. I thought you
Oh.
were.
Oh, you shot
Oh
children in
no,
Scotland.
I don't. That would assume I knew what was going on.
I thought you
I'm
were
so confused.
alluding to the guy who went into a Scottish school and shot a bunch of kids, and that was the end of guns in the UK.
Oh really? Well, we
Yeah.
had that happen
They
here,
did.
but nothing
They
happened.
outlawed it. It's even illegal to carry knives in Scotland.
Mm.
Knives of a
Wow.
certain size are illegal because
Yeah.
that's how people kill each other now. They just
course.
stab each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's illegal to have a knife in Scotland, to walk
Yeah.
around the street with a knife.
Yep.
Yeah.
I had a Scottish friend telling me that if someone came to the airport with a knife over 4 inches, they can just throw you straight in jail for having a knife.
Wow.
Mm.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What about
Yeah,
a
I mean-
spoon?
Well,
That'd be all right,
you
right?
can
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
debate
probably.
You
you can
gouge someone's eyes out.
you can debate the liberty of the whole thing, but the numbers don't lie. The amount of murders in the UK as opposed to here, it's just
Well, it's
not-
guns, right?
Yeah, of course.
So if we just outlawed them and no one had one, what would be so wrong with that? Really?
Well, I think the fear at that point is, it's the idea of, all right, so I, as a legal gun owner, like I can no longer have my guns, but that's not going to stop people who are going to make
Yes, it is.
the choice. That's
It
the
is going to
argument.
stop. No, I can stop.
I can't
I can
say
tell you
that
how to
it's
stop
gonna
it.
happen.
I can tell you how to stop it. I've got a plan. I should run for something on this. This
What's
is
your
my
plan?
this is
You
my
should.
platform.
What's your plan?
Anybody who's caught with a gun is shot immediately with their own gun. No trial, no nothing. You just shot.
That's a very George Carlin way of looking at things.
Who
I
shoots you?
I think it would work. I think there'd be no gun violence within 20 minutes.
I mean, at that
Of
point,
passing
what's the impetus to not just shoot somebody who notices you have a gun then? It's kind of like the idea of
Well, you could still be. There's still room for people to be crazy and illogical, of course.
Well, but at that point, it's not even necessarily illogical. It's the whole idea of not to get into another particular debate, but it's the idea of people say that they want to take like rape, the act of raping someone, and make that a capital offense so that you can get the death penalty for that. And at that point, if you're raping someone, there's no impetus to leave them alive. You may as well kill them because then there's no witness.
It's like a
That's-
chess game.
It is. It is.
Think
It's
ahead on that.
it's difficult. All of these are very difficult things to discuss politically as well as just socially.
I think people don't think they're going to get caught either. I'm carrying a gun illegally. You don't know I have it. You're not going to catch me. I mean, I don't think it's a deterrent. I mean, the death penalty certainly isn't a deterrent.
No, of course
Jail isn't a deterrent.
Right.
Well, what about my plan of getting shot in the head with your own gun?
I don't think so.
You don't think that would work either?
I'm going to
Oh.
pretend like that is happening, and I'm going to start carrying a gun and pretend like people are going to shoot me and just see what happens.
No, I'm serious. You don't think it would
No,
work?
I'm not
You don't
serious.
think it would work, though? You're the only person who really knows what they're talking about.
No, I'm not.
That's my whole platform. You don't think that would work? You
I
don't think
I
people
don't
would be
think it would be a deterrent.
I think the Ariel's point is correct that if you're the first person to notice someone has the gun, you're the last person who wants to say, "Hey, he's got a gun."
Yeah, exactly.
well, there's my
I think
my
it's really clear
public
though
office.
that the next step is really to just outlaw handguns and like automatic weapons in cities. I mean, that's an obvious
Yeah.
first step.
It's not going to. Well,
And
it happened.
the background checks. Can we at least just get the background checks? Like, there's little things. That
See, I'm
would be
all
a
for
good start.
background checks.
Yeah.
As much as I love my guns, I'm for
There's
background
those few
checks all the
topics that
way.
are kind of on the top that would be really easy to just push through that would help.
But they don't seem to get pushed through, though, because everybody
don't.
in Congress has got someone to answer to that apparently doesn't want it to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
You can say you'd like another drink. It's all right, Eris. We're not going to tell
It's
anybody.
happy hour.
Hey, we have to talk about drugs. We talk about India. Which one should we do first, drugs or India?
Drugs.
Okay. We'll come back. We'll come back to India in a minute. Hey, Andrew, I'm going to get you to play a song as well.
Okay.
But we'll come on to that. We'll do drugs,
is-
India, then what? What do
I
you
just want to hear Luke play two, and I don't want to play one if we don't.
No,
get
we've
to
got
hear it.
room for everybody.
Okay.
We'll fit it all in.
wanna play
Okay.
this
I'm
one?
here all the time. Would you mind? It's an open D. you said?
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. That'd be cool.
Okay.
gonna sing?
Well, we've got a few minutes. Well, let's talk about apothecaries for a minute.
All right.
Because I want to know something about this.
Sure.
So you make these. I looked on your website and I printed out all everything you sell on
see
this
that.
website. It's awesome.
You did research. That's crazy.
Well, if you call it research, yeah. So you can buy various teas. One is called cheaper than chloroform,
Yeah.
which is so you've got like a sense of humor about this whole
I
thing.
tried to. I hated the idea of, everyone's got like a sleepy time tea or, a good night tea, and that's not really what you want. If you're having trouble sleeping, you want something that's going to help knock your ass out. So that's kind of, and I'm not, I've never been one of those, kind of like free spirit type people as much as people assume that I am because of what I do. So I like to have at least a little bit of fun
What
with
do
it.
people assume about you?
For lack of a better term, they think I'm a hippie.
You don't like that.
I'm a hardcore punk from back in the day.
Ah, okay.
So, my favorite bands are Bad Religion and Social Distortion. So it kind of goes against everything like that I've believed since I was a very young teenager that to be called, considered a hippie. So I kind of wanted to differentiate myself from that kind of mindset. So I went with, cheaper than chloroform and joint jujitsu and gastric depth charge and stuff like that.
Well, you could call one Darren Sharper.
I could now. I don't know what that would be.
That'd be the cheaper
That
than
would knock
chloroform.
people
Same
out.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cheaper
same
than-
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a shocking
I don't
story.
honestly. I don't even think my cheaper than chloroform is quite that strong. I don't know what he was using, but yeah, I don't think I'm
Some
that
sort
good.
of shots with something in it. NyQuil, I think. I'm
if,
not even
if
kidding.
NyQuil was that good, I think
I
it
think
would
it
have
was
been pulled
something
off of
stupid
the
like
shelves by
that.
now.
No, I think it was something. Do you remember reading it?
No, I
What
didn't
it
read
said?
it. No, it's
Brandy, you up with that one?
I just read
Shocking.
an article about it today, but I don't know what he used. I mean, it's hard to tell.
He got it. All these
Benadryl,
women,
maybe.
Benadryl or something. It was all these women have the same story across the country in like 8 different states, where he says to them, "Come up to my hotel room," and they do a couple of shots, and he's put
Right.
Benadryl in it or something pretty ordinary like that, and then they pass out.
So he's resourceful, is what you're saying.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't
Or
something
he's a
like.
rapist.
well, there's that too.
But it wasn't something like some fancy, date rape drug or whatever it's called. It was just Benadryl.
Yeah.
And the
Scary.
guy's a multi-millionaire. He could afford decent drugs.
See, that's
It's
what I was
strange that he
thinking.
would just. He could have used this cheaper than chloroform. How strong is that if I took have a cup of tea of this stuff?
It's not going to knock you on your ass. It's actually it's kind of mild as far as the effects of it. It just kind of helps you relax.
Okay.
Most of the things aren't going to hit you. Most of the natural remedies that I do aren't going to hit you the way that most like over-the-counter types of drugs, and certainly not prescription drugs will.
Well, but talk about prescriptions for a minute. Who's prescribing it? I'm prescribing this for myself, right?
Sort of.
Are
I
you
guess.
prescribing it for me? Do I
It
I write to you and say I've got a problem and can you tell me what to take?
A lot of people do actually. I'll get messages on Facebooks or emails and stuff, or people just come up to me at trade shows and they're like, "Hey, I have gout. What do I do?" and stuff like that.
What do you do for gout? Have you got something for gout?
There's a couple of things you can do for gout. Turmeric is actually really good. It's one of my wonder drugs that it's kind of
Right.
like a go-to for just about everything.
Turmeric.
Turmeric is definitely a good one for
You're
gout.
not a doctor, right?
I'm not a doctor.
Do you have any medical training at all?
I do not.
Okay. Do you have any college education?
My degree is actually in criminal justice.
Ha ha! There you go.
Yeah.
What about that? You have a degree in criminal justice?
I do. I have a degree in criminal justice.
So how do you know anything about these drugs?
Like I said, I had started when I was a very young teenager, and
13 is the youngest you can be to be a teenager.
that's
technically.
about what time I started.
Okay.
I'd been kind of playing around in plants. My grandmother was very into gardening. She had this huge wall of azaleas and whatnot, so she kind of taught me how to garden a little bit when I was a kid, and I kind of turned that into. It started obviously with flowers and stuff like that, and eventually I started wanting to know a little bit more about the plants. and realizing, in kind of spiritual ways that there are other ways to use different types of plants. And that led me into medicinal uses.
When did the punk stuff come along?
When did the punk stuff?
Yeah.
It was actually the same time. I never did
That's a weird
anything the way
combo.
that most people do it. I have to be weird all the time. That's just kind of the way I do it. So I'm gardening in a Misfits t-shirt. That's kind of how I did
That's strange that you'd be attracted to that sort of lifestyle,
at the same time.
which is sort of self-destructive. At the
It
same
is-
time as trying to come up with some sort of herbal remedies for
It is,
illness.
but the reason was because I was so, as a young punk, I didn't exactly hold down a job for very long, and I moved out of my mom's house when I was 16. So I kind of just decided I'm done with this, and I'm done with your rules, and so on and so forth. And I was that god awful rebellious teenager, and so I certainly didn't have insurance for a very long time. So I kind of had to figure out in different ways when I got sick to treat myself.
Who were you living with when you were 16?
When I moved out at that point, it was with my boyfriend, which did not last for very long, and then it was different friends. I've couch hopped for several years.
Wow.
Yeah. it
Did
was
you
fun.
get knocked up?
I did not get knocked
Oh,
out.
that was lucky.
I know.
Figured that out.
Was there an herbal remedy you're
She
using?
took turmeric.
There actually are. But
What do you take to stop getting knocked up then?
it's not necessarily something that you take to stop from getting knocked up. There are things that you can do that would, for lack of a better term, remedy.
Masturbate?
Another very controversial.
It is another, and I don't sell those. I actually
It's
have
like a morning after pill type thing you're talking about
Kind
here?
of,
Like
yeah.
an abortion
kind
drug?
of, yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
It's a naturally occurring abortion medication.
yes.
Okay.
I am not going into that on
We
this
don't-
show.
We're not going to know what it is.
No.
Well, we could
no.
Google it ourselves.
Yeah,
I suppose.
exactly. The
Okay.
interwebs will tell you everything you want to
Okay.
know, but I will not.
All right.
I don't
Okay,
want anyone
what-
coming
what's
after
your-
me later.
What's your best-selling thing here?
The cheaper than chloroform is definitely a bestseller.
Right.
My antiviral arsenal line of things. It's my cold and flu remedies,
Right.
and I have an entire line of it. There's a chest rub, there's a tea, but my tincture is actually the one that sells the best
Tincture.
with that. Yes.
What's,
That's it.
what's in it?
There's elderberries, honey, cinnamon, stuff like that. And it's all especially because I sell over the web, it's done in a glycerin base, a vegetable glycerin base, as opposed to an alcohol base, which is traditionally what tinctures are done with. The idea behind it is you basically take, a little bit of water, pour the tincture in it, and then you just kind of do it like a shot. Some people absolutely love the way that it tastes. It depends on how you feel about elderberries, because it's very much an elderberry taste to it. I have two friends of mine who were like, am I sick yet? Am I sick yet? Can I take it? Am I sick? I need to be sick so I can take some of this. I can't stand the way it tastes. So I find if you actually take like a little bit of like iced tea and pour it into the iced tea, you can't taste it at all. But it helps knock out a cold in a couple of days.
What do you think about zinc? Does it work? Does it keep you from getting sick? If you feel sick and you take zinc, does it help?
It can. It certainly depends. A lot of the stuff that's being sold, commercially, that with zinc and so on and so forth, I think a lot of it's hyped a little bit more than it probably should be, and you're probably not getting quite the amount, like the percentage or the dosage that you really, really need. But
Right.
it does on its own, when it's dosed properly. It certainly can help
Nice.
How do you know this stuff works? Do you do trial and error
a lot.
on guinea pigs?
On
people?
myself,
On yourself.
on my partners, my family, my friends, a lot of my friends.
And what's the failure rate? Like, what happens when they get sick?
Well, I haven't had anyone get sick. That's one of the things that I love about herbal remedies is as long as you know what you're allergic to, then you know what you can and can't, consume. So as long as you don't give somebody something that they're allergic to, they're really not going to get sick per se. It's either going to work or it's not going to work.
So you're dying for your friends to get the flu or something so you can see if the stuff works.
But can't they just drink the elderberry anyway? It's not like a preventative.
It's not really. Echinacea is a little bit more of a preventative, but if you take that for too terribly long, it will actually build up in your system, and it becomes less potent. I usually go with about 2 weeks if you're going to take echinacea.
Echinacea.
If you're going to do echinacea, don't do it for longer than 2 weeks, or it actually starts not working anymore, and then you have to kind of give your body a time to reset before you take it again. There are some things that you can do that are more systemic and more preventative. Like I have an arthritis tea that I personally drink because I have arthritis, and it actually helps stave off a lot of the pain that you get. a lot of like joint pain and stuff like that.
Turmeric.
There is in fact turmeric in there. It's a wonder drug, man. I'm telling you, it's great.
You have a cure for arthritis pain?
It's not necessarily a cure. I still get flare-ups here and there, but it does help. It helps quite a bit. It's a lot of anti-inflammatory because that's basically what arthritis is.
There's a lot of people in the world who are looking for a cure for arthritis.
Right, and unfortunately, there's not a cure for it yet.
Right.
But it does help quite a bit.
Could you be onto something here?
I like to think that I am. It helps me.
How did you come up with this one?
I needed it, so I tried.
But is there like a line of people who do this sort of thing? I mean, are there traditional medicines that everyone knows? There's books that say this is.
Oh yeah. There's books all over the place. I have about 50 of them or so at home.
But this particular arthritis cure,
this particular one is one that I formulated. Yeah.
What do you call that? Is that on here?
It is. That's joint jujitsu.
Joint jujitsu.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
There's a T, which is what I do.
I love that. I'll fight your
that's
joint.
good.
Exactly, man. It's a fight. It's hard.
Wow. Okay. Let's move along here, Andrew. We're going to have a song, and then we're talking about India.
Okay.
And then we'll make Luke play another song.
Yeah. Great.
Okay. Death penalty. Info. In the meantime, we can swing back to that for a second. What are you playing?
I'm gonna go with Luke on the same notion. Disclaimer that this one's still in the works, but it feels like the right spot.
Yeah.
I got a long way to go to get where I'm going. To get where I'm going. I saw her dancing through the night, barefoot in the moonlit clay. Saw her dancing through the night toward the light of a brighter day. Why does the sun rise always rise so far away? I got long way to go. Get where I'm going. Keep on walking, keep on working, keep on working. Lord, way to go.
Thank y'all kindly.
Very nice. Wow. This, what is this instrument called? Is this a dobro or something? Is it called?
Yep. It's a national guitar.
It's a beautiful.
It makes everything sound quite different, doesn't it? It's like, where did that come from? What's the history of that instrument?
They've been made in California for over 100 years now in San Luis Obispo, and that's the national company who's kind of made them famous. But the dobro was invented by a couple of Czech brothers who moved to California in 1880, 90.
So when you hear Lead Belly play that stuff, what was he playing that on?
He was playing a 12-string guitar, most likely. He played a 12-string guitar that was tuned really low. He didn't play much bottleneck.
It sort of sounds like that, but he wasn't playing a bottleneck
Not really.
slide at all.
Nope.
At all. Andrew, that's a cool song.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Beautiful, yeah.
Thank you.
Is that a work in progress, you're saying?
Yeah, it needs a verse, another verse or something. You know what's funny about the whole bottleneck, not bottleneck thing? The guy who made me want to learn bottleneck was Lightning Hopkins, and then watching videos, he didn't even play bottleneck.
Yeah, I haven't heard
It
him
was
play.
just like some of these guys, they just got these bluesy bends and bluesy slides up, and you think that they're playing, and they're, well, your untrained ear before you know what a bottleneck really sounds like. Oh, that
Right.
must be one of those bottleneck things.
Yeah.
Sure enough, he didn't even play bottleneck guitar.
And you bought a sitar while you were in India.
I did, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's up with that? What is
So,
that like?
all right, well, I wanted to go to a shop and just pick one up, see what it's all about, right? And so I told the people at the hotel that I wanted to do that, and they sent me to a souvenir shop and picked up this shitty one. But just picking it up, I was like, oh, wait. And Luke would know because he's playing in an open D tuning. This thing's tuned in open D.
Yeah.
And it's only 2 strings that you're really creating a melody on. Everything else is just for drone, essentially. There's actually 4 that you can play the melody on, but really you could create the song on 2 strings in the drone. And then I passed on it because it was $300-something, and it felt like a souvenir. Then sure enough, I happened to pass this actual sitar shop, and so I popped in there, and it looks like a handmade guitar shop should look, or a stringed instrument shop should look. There's things behind glass that they don't want amateurs to touch, and a guy working on a sitar there, and so I asked him if I could play one, and then I looked at the wall at these black and white pictures of George Harrison. And I said, okay, wait. And sure enough, it was the shop where George Harrison got his sitar. And this guy made all of Ravi Shankar sitars, who was the guy who taught George Harrison everything he knew. And
You just happened to walk in there.
Yeah, it was just a shop that I happened to walk in on. And that was kind of it. You got to buy it after that. So
Yeah.
And with the exchange rate, it really, you spend $3,000 on a great acoustic guitar. But for a great sitar, it was $600-something.
So do they have like Sitar World there?
No. In fact,
Good line.
They should.
Yes.
It's funny. Like you're not the first person. I've grown up my beard a little bit. You're not the first person to say, "Oh, now you look Indian." Nobody in India has beards. No, it's not a thing to have a beard there. I didn't see anybody doing yoga. I didn't see anybody playing a sitar. It's, just not.
So I have a friend who actually just moved to India with work, and he's one of the first things he did was found a yoga studio. And like these people are now going to his apartment to do like morning yoga things with there because it's not a huge thing. So it's like, oh, you'll pay me to do this? Okay, I'll do it. Sure. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
So have you played it? Have you figured anything out?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not good at it. No, but the exciting thing is that once you find those 2 strings and start messing around with it and find the scale, yeah, you can sound like you know what you're doing. If you know how to play guitar and you play it in open tuning, then you can find your way through it. But
So those songs, those classical Indian songs, I thought they were in some sort of weird key that didn't exist in Western music.
okay, here's the wild thing about the sitar: you can move the frets. So when you want to create kind of the Middle Eastern scale, you move one of the frets from where it is to way up the neck, and now you're just, that's where I bow out. And I don't know how to.
Well, it's only the first week you've had it, though.
Yeah, but
After you've had it for a month, you might.
yeah, it's super interesting.
You
It's
get a
not like-
video. Is it on YouTube? How to play the sitar?
It is, but what's even interesting about that is you want to hear them say, this is where your A flat is, your, all that. They have different names for all that. It's your
Right.
da, your ra, your za, So I'm still way.
And what about the form of the songs, like a raga and all these different things? Are you going to try and learn that?
I don't know. I was inspired enough by the instrument to buy it, even though I couldn't afford it. But there's always credit. But yeah, after that, I'm not sure what happens after that. I'm gonna let it inform me musically somehow, but I don't think I'm gonna be writing, Eastern style songs. I'm just gonna.
How did you even get it home on the plane?
I checked it. I bought a case, which is only $30. Got him to pack a lot of newspaper in there, and he was very confident that it would be fine. So he wrapped it in saran wrap and checked it, and I worried the whole way, but it was fine.
It had to be nerve-wracking.
That's worse than flying with your dog, even.
Right? Yeah.
Wow, how cool.
Yeah.
Brandi, yes.
Did you drink cow urine when you were in India?
No cow urine.
A woman in my office brought back cow urine. It's very medicinal.
You're allowed to bring cow urine.
It's like
into the United States.
apothecary. You should have it in your apothecary.
Who was on the trial and error
I'm gonna
on that
pass.
one?
People in my office drank it. They feel like it
Which office
healed
is this?
them.
Here, in New Orleans.
Yeah.
People in the capital defense.
She brought back cow urine. She said it's like Gatorade.
I mean, it's a
It's
placebo
not.
effect that I'm not willing to chance. Yeah.
What's in cow urine that would be so great? And how would you catch that? You have to follow cows around with a pan.
I mean,
probably get it the same
like
way
a
you would get
sling
milk.
or
it's
something
hardly
underneath.
the worst thing that you could see on the street. Yeah, catching some cow urine would
It
be
smells
nothing.
like a farm.
Yeah, you could catch people urine on the street if you wanted to. They're all.
Well, you could
doing
do
it.
that here.
Is that medicinal?
No,
In the
can't imagine.
The French Quarter smells like people urine
Right.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Did you try it, Brandi?
No, I didn't try it. Other people in my office tried it, but I just
What did
wondered
they-
if you
What did they report?
that it was disgusting, but that they felt fine. I don't know if anybody.
Fine, but did they feel great? Or
I don't know if
different?
anybody got like healed.
Like someone who
but
couldn't walk and suddenly like jump up and down.
Right.
I'm cured.
Nobody, in a wheelchair suddenly walking in my office, but
Geez, you wouldn't think people.
I'm
at the
surprised you
Capitol
didn't
Defense-
try it.
Didn't even know it was there. Didn't see it.
I've never heard anyone ask that question before. If you tried cow urine,
It's an Indian
so Ayurvedic
drink.
thing.
I don't know if it's Ayurvedic, but
It's a different part of Indian medicine.
yeah, it's like bottled. You could buy it like, at the corner store.
Damn, I didn't see
I know, you
it.
should go back and try it.
I'll be back soon.
Are you going back for real?
Oh yeah, next year. Well, the whole reason I went, India was just a stop off. I went to Sri Lanka because I have a great uncle there who's a missionary priest. He's been there for 63 years. That's why I went.
Oh wow.
So I went to meet. Well, I had met him once before. He had come to the States when I was a young teenager. I think 13. And
It's a good age.
Turning point.
Yeah.
So I didn't know much about it then, but my folks told me more about it, and so yeah.
Is he from here?
Yes.
He
went
left
to
New Orleans and went to Sri Lanka.
Jesuit high
63
school.
years ago.
Yeah.
From
No
Jesuit.
way. That's
Yeah.
cool.
And what does he do? What's he like?
What does he do there?
Yeah, well, he's a missionary for
Right.
What,
So he's
what
at
ro-
this academy, which is a young middle school on up to high school, and they teach him English and all the usual subjects, and he also started a technical institute where they essentially teach people how to take things apart and put them back together, so they don't have to buy everything from China and buy shitty stuff. So they're making their own industrial tools to do their own thing, water pumps and brick machines and all kinds of stuff.
So he's more than just a missionary then.
Oh
He's-
right, yeah. No, he's
He's got a lot going on.
Yeah.
Does he have? Is he married or have a family or anything there? He's still.
a
single?
Catholic priest.
Oh, he's an actual priest.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So he's his morning ritual is wake up at 5 o'clock, say 6:30 mass, and then start his how are we gonna make Sri Lanka better today? Badakalo, which is a town. You'd walk down the street, the main area where everything is sold, and people just stare at you because there's the only white guy,
You must
yeah.
be related to the other white guy,
Which one?
the guy who's a priest.
Oh, right. Well,
Your
he doesn't
uncle.
go out much. He's 87 years old now, so he
he's
doesn't make it out.
87.
Right.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
He's been there for 60 or something years.
63 years. Yeah, he went when he was 24. It took him, I want to say, 5 weeks on a boat, and they stopped in Egypt and here and there, and yeah, he made it. And back then, he didn't think he'd ever be back to the States again. There was no reason for him to think that he would make it back. So he was just.
Does he seem like a saint?
That was the interesting thing about the trip was, I knew that if he came hard with the Jesus card, it would be hard for me to.
That could be awkward.
Yeah. But we never discussed it at all. He's a guy who grew up in the 40s and 50s when goodwill was Jesus and Jesus was goodwill, and just because, his God is love, but God is love for him, but for me, love is God, maybe you'd say. And so I don't need the Jesus to believe in the goodwill, but neither does he. It seems like he's performing the customs and the rituals, but that was never part of his prerogative. It was all about how do we help these people and how do we teach them to do simple things that we know back in the States. So I recommend anybody who's out there who doesn't quite feel a calling or isn't passionate about anything. If you want to be a hero or a rock star, you can move to a really poor third world country and you can teach them how to make a pump and you will be a rock star.
Yeah, but you have
for
to
the
know
rest
how to
of
make a
your life.
pump first.
Or-
Like, don't
or
just
anything.
go there and decide you're going to learn how to make a pump.
You could make a
But you-
tincture.
But you know how to figure it out
can.
online, and that's all you need.
Yeah, you have
because-
the YouTubes where they don't.
Right, but you could bring the YouTubes to them. It's
Can you get the internet over there? Have wireless?
Mhm.
in Sri
Yeah.
Lanka? What do
Yeah.
they speak in Sri Lanka? English?
Tamil.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So does your uncle speak Tamil? I guess he does.
Yeah,
after
but he
60
actually
years.
doesn't anymore. He won't allow it. He only speaks English to make the folks around him speak English because he believes that it's the Tamils and I don't remember the other one from the north, but there was a huge civil war that's just ending, receding really, and he believes that the end to that is for everybody to learn English because that would be
That'll
the
unify everybody
unify,
in
right?
one language.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, was it life-changing in some way? It seemed to be from the Facebook photos that you're posting, and it just looks so radically different from...
That's it, right? I mean, that's the first time that I've been to that side of the world. As far as I've been is, Spain and Italy and all that. So just the usual Europe thing. So to be on the other side, and see what that's all about, and understand what poor is, and what desperation is, and what corruption is, and a culture that's completely not your own. And when somebody cuts in front of you because they've never been taught otherwise, and to learn that that's what you have to deal with in a place that doesn't teach them otherwise. So I'm not making the generalization. I just mean when you're enveloped in a culture that's not your own, you got to kind of roll with it and figure it all out. But it's life changing, I think, to go that far and figure out what the world's all about a little bit.
Was it hard to come back, or did you want to stay and
I did
try to
make the
help your
mistake.
uncle and whatnot?
I did make the mistake of coming back too soon.
Yeah.
Just making the plan, but the plan was to go back in 2 years, but now it's 1 year, so I'll head back as soon as possible.
How long would you advise someone to stay there if they're going to India or Sri Lanka?
In India, I mean, everybody said, you should have stayed longer. I think it was only there a week cumulatively, but I think it's more like 3 weeks is at least the least bit you should stay in India, probably.
I'm trying to think of a segue to get Luke to play a song.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
What could one be?
Well, I think that was one
Anyone-
right there, actually.
Anyone got an idea?
Yeah.
Luke, what are you thinking of playing?
I got I was gonna do like a dancing number, do kind of a hot one to send us off.
Yes.
Ended
It's
up with a
nothing to do
J.
with any of our topics, but
India hot, right?
yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right.
Okay. What's it called?
This is called "Swing That Thing."
Thank you so much. Swing That Thing. Is that off the Coming Tide?
No, this is going to be on the
That's
new
on-
album.
that's on the
It's a
new
sneak
one.
Preview.
That's a sneak preview of
Sneak preview,
Swing
yep.
That Thing on what's
Swing That
the
Thing.
new record going to be called?
It doesn't have a title yet. We have 18 songs and no title.
You looking for suggestions from our audience?
No, I think we're going to decide what our favorite song is and probably call it that when we're
Okay.
finished. Yeah.
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
when's it coming out? In a couple of months.
I'm aiming for the last Tuesday in September.
The last Tuesday in September.
Yep.
Okay. It has to come out on a Tuesday.
Records are traditionally supposed to come out on Tuesdays. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
The last Tuesday in September. Okay. Well, maybe we'll have you back in time for that.
I'd love that.
would be a
Thanks
great
for having
idea.
me. I'm glad to be back.
That was
Thanks.
great to have you back as well.
My pleasure.
You want to play us out?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
That's Happy Hour. It's all over for another
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, thank you so much, everybody.
It's great to be here.
Our guests today on Happy Hour have been Eris Walsh, Brandi Studer, Luke Winslow King, Andrew Duhon back from India. The producer of our show is Graham DePonte. Our associate producer and technical director is Chris Kehoe. Christian Owner is our music director and Joshua Brown is our music coordinator. The fabulous audio quality of this show is brought to you in part by PreSonus Audio Electronics. PreSonus makes some of the best audio recording and sound products around, including Studio One music production software, Studio Live digital mixing consoles, Eris studio monitors, and much more. PreSonus.com has all the information about that. If you'd like to be on our show or you know someone you'd like to subject to it, drop us a line. Our address is on our website, where you can also check out many other Happy Hour shows and other shows, including Out to Lunch with Peter Raschuti, live from Commander's Palace, Mindset with psychiatrist Dr. Nick Pajic, True to the Game with the fabulous Chris True and Tammy Nelson, Vietnola, our show about the New Orleans Vietnamese community with the Vietnamese Terry Gross, Kim Vu. And Midnight Menu Plus One with Margot Moss, the man who ate New Orleans, Ray Canada. You can keep up with us on Facebook, Twitter, and a bunch of other time-sucking social media as well. And all of it, you'll find us. We're called It's New Orleans. You can find photos from this show on itsneworleans.com and on Facebook. These photos were taken by our photographer, Douglas Engel, who's standing right over there. If you're listening to this on iTunes, Stitcher, or our favorite podcast app, Swell, or some other podcast app, thanks for subscribing. Take a moment to rate and review us. That helps other people find us. Our show is recorded live today at the fabulous Casa Borrega, named one of the 8 best restaurants in New Orleans today by some list on the paper.
But
Did
they
you
were
see that?
they were pictured as
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Great.
This place, I think they're going to be kicking us out of here in no time. Casa Borrega is on Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard in Central City. Come on down and check them out. It's a restaurant, it's a bar, it's a live music venue as well. Happy Hour is a production of INO Broadcasting for itsneworleans.com. For Andrew Duhon, who's finally back
Yeah, man.
before being away again. And everybody else around the table, everybody back at the INO office, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Grant Morris. We'll see you back here next time on Happy Hour. Played by Luke Winslow King.
Hear that? That's the sweet sound of Minute Maid slushies at McDonald's, turning up your summer with every sip, slurp, and ah.
Get a small sweet peach, blue raspberry, or fruit punch slushie for just $2. Or get any size soft drink for $1. Price and participation may vary. Limited time only. Cannot be combined with combo meal.